Hello, and welcome to the first ever Late Challenge podcast with him, Paul Cope, with me, Gareth Roberts. It's a new show from Liverpool, the birthplace of the goal net. But you didn't know that, did you? Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
So what I'm going to do for you is a random fact, as long as I can, about Liverpool at the start of every show. So John Brodie invented the goal net while in Liverpool. So that's just another thing to be proud of, you know what I mean?
And that's mainly what this show is going to be about, isn't it? Just facts.
Yeah, just facts. Loads of boss facts. Or maybe not. Maybe you can point out when we're not being factual. So, Kopi, why is it called the Late Challenge and what's it all about?
Oh, you want me to do this bit?
Go on.
I thought you were going to do it.
No, it's a two-man thing, this.
Yeah, but that's
Come
fucking
on.
hell.
Do you want me to do it?
You do this bit.
Go on then. So the plan is that we talk a little bit about the media, a little bit about sport. We've got a crunching challenge coming up as well. Try and guess what that's about. Food. And the plan as well is that we want all this to be dead interactive. So we want you to tweet us, email us. We'll read those tweets out. We'll read those emails out. And further down the line, we want to do something live as well. So, live on YouTube. You can come on, you can talk to us, you can say things, we can interact with you and do it that way. We also want you to support what we're doing from day one, so you can do that by following us on all of the socials. 3,500 roughly so far have followed us on Twitter, which has been brilliant. Thanks very much. Thanks for the messages. Thanks for the emails. And thanks to Dave in Spain, who even filled out the form on the website, so we know that works as well. So yeah, do all of that. Follow us, tell your mates, share our posts, subscribe to YouTube. This is a podcast, but it is viewable on YouTube as well. So if you're watching, you can listen, and if you're listening, you can watch. We are going to start, Kopi, with then the media challenge.
Wait, before we get into that, I want to add to what you just said, because we've been talking about this, right? So those people who've already followed us and getting involved, we set this up. We've decided to do this because, as probably you are if you're watching this or listening to this from the start, we're just a bit sick, aren't we, of the general world and the wokeness and all the shit you're not meant to say and all that stuff. So basically, this is going to be a safe haven. The idea is, me and Robbo have discussed this. When Robbo came to me a few weeks ago and said, do you want to do this? I was like, yeah, on a couple of conditions. One is, it'll be fun. And two, we can say what we want, right? So that will inevitably mean, and I want to set the scene for this early on, we're going to say stuff probably that's going to offend some people. I was thinking yesterday when I was thinking about this. Yeah, I say things that offend me, and I'm the one saying them. So if something we say offends you, that's all right. Don't worry about it. Things are meant to offend you sometimes. But what we're going to do is just say what we think. That's what we've committed to, isn't it?
Yeah, and like the whole thing, the reason it's called the Late Challenge, we didn't really get into that, but the idea is a late challenge is a bad tackle in footy, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's also like something that needs to be done from time to time. And it's also not particularly timely, is it? So we're only doing one podcast a week to kick off, and we're just going to basically look through papers and stuff in the week, find things we want to talk about and talk about them. It's not breaking news, it's not reaction shows, it's nothing like that. It's just us chatting shite, basically, isn't it? You wanted to call it talking shite.
Yeah.
I just wasn't sure about the marketing around that one, to be honest with you.
I don't think YouTube would be happy with calling it talking shite.
But we're going to start, we're going to try, so we've got about an hour in here, and what we're going to try and do is, to keep it tight, is we bought a little clock, as well as all these great props that you can see around. We bought this clock. I thought this was going to be massive. That's what she said. So I saw that on the internet, and like you can't judge it. And who actually looks at the dimensions and all that? I just thought, oh yeah, that'll be sound. So we're trying to do 15 minutes on each section. So we've got the media challenge, the sporting challenge, and the crunching challenge. And then we might talk about some other shite if we've got some time. So we'll start the media challenge now then. So that's counting down from 15. The media challenge, we've got 12 national newspapers in this country, as you may or may not know. There's also the Sunday titles, there's the magazine market, there's websites, TV, radio, and beyond. And let me tell you, as someone who's worked in the media, there is a lot of shite among those pages and in those magazines, and spoken on radio and spoken on TV. And so we think there's going to be loads for us to talk about in this section. As an example of shite, and as an example of stuff where you're just like, really? So we're in a cost of living crisis and all the rest of it. People are having the doors kicked through, and people are, getting gas meters fitted that they didn't even want it. Meanwhile, the Sunday Times yesterday, Your definitive guide to Britain's £1 million houses. I mean, fuck me. Like, what a start that is. And then also, the Sunday Times magazine last weekend, 7 pages. I mean, just how did this get commissioned? 7 pages on arses. So for those watching on YouTube, you can see there, Sunday Times magazine, bottoms up, from bustles to butt lifts, the evolution of the derriere. Imagine pitching that.
I love it.
Hiya, mate, I've got an article for you, 7 pages on arses.
Well, I love when you said
it's the Sunday Times this, you know, mate.
But I love that. I love that in the same publication, you can have a front page leading with your £1 million houses, and in the magazine, we're going to do something about arses as well. But I remember you telling me ages ago about, you know, working in the media, and it tied into stuff I already suspected, which is every newspaper. Think about it like this. Loads of people don't think about it like this. Every newspaper is a set amount of pages, isn't it?
Yeah.
So every day and every weekend when they're doing the Sundays, they have a set amount of space to fill. Now, if these publications were just about giving us news, you would get to a part of the paper sometimes where it would just say on the page, there's no more news today. Wouldn't you? Because otherwise, think about that. There is always just the right amount of news to fill the newspaper, which is mad, isn't it? But without, with spoiling industry secrets, that it is just bullshit, isn't it?
Some people write, what, you know, particularly in terms of sport, what are known as flyers, which is basically having a guess at what might happen. So, you know, this player looks unhappy there, that player needs a midfielder. Let's just write an article saying they're into them. And now I don't think I'm spoiling anything there. Surely people have worked that out by now, do you know what I mean? And then we've turned into all the, you know, the ITKs in the nose on Twitter, following on from that kind of style of journalism. But there's just loads of mad shit in papers. And like, we're going to have a field day going through it. But what I wanted to do at episode 1, Copy, is like, it's just felt to me for a while that like, we're living in a bit of a mad world, like where it's continually taking the piss out of us, and it's like, really? And it's in the papers, like it's detailed in the papers as it's happening. And I just think of the loads of people just reading these things going, oh, well, that's all right. Oh, yeah, sound. So, you know, when you go to shop and you get your shopping in for the week, and you see like, you know, the old buy one, get one free, or price freeze, or club card price, or whatever it might be, whatever supermarket you go in, there'll be something, won't it, where it makes you think, I'm getting a bargain here. They don't need that, are they? I'll get 3 of them. I'll throw 2 in the freezer and I'll eat one tonight. And then there's a piece in the Sunday Times again, yesterday. Supermarkets desperate to attract customers in the cost of living crisis have been locking the price of thousands of products. But when is a bargain not a bargain? Analysis of prices on Tesco's website shows hundreds of the groceries it has frozen in price until Easter were actually much cheaper a year ago. It uses the example of Heinz baked beans and pork sausages. And let me tell you, I know about this, how that's gone up in price. Used to be 65p. It's been locked at £1.20. Oh, fucking cheers, Tesco.
Do you know what's mad? I'm literally, it's like you've been following me around this week. I literally bought beans and sausages for the first time in about 5 years.
Staple for me, though.
It was £2.50 for a can.
Where's that?
In the Tesco Express. That's mad, that, isn't it?
Yeah. So we're being ad off. You know where I noticed it? So I used to shop at Tesco when I lived down the South End ways. And you used to be able to get like a thing of orange juice and get one free. And that getting one free thing's never returned. And then but the price of just one has slowly been going up. And I'm like, hang on, it's nearly, what, is it $2.50 now for that? You used to get one free. Where's the one free? Gone. Do you know what I mean? I want it back. So yeah, it's basically saying this piece that we're being lied to on the regular by supermarkets, you bastards. And then there's another piece in the Mirror, this one. £7 pints will be the norm by the summer. The £7 pint will spread from London to the rest of the country this summer. The campaign for real ale has warned. It's urging the government to produce support for pubs as businesses outside the capital are forced to raise prices or close their doors. Now, you know, we know a couple of people in the industry, and I've seen one of them tweeting / social media-ing in general about this before, saying this is on the way. I mean, it's not about you. I'm just not going to go out.
Well, do you know what's good time for me? I've just packed in drinking.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, well, I filled me boots in all the years when we were reminiscing about this with my family yesterday. Like back in the day, do you remember when you could get a pint? When I was in uni, you get a pint in the place under the Adelphi for 50p.
I went to Sheffield. You could get a pint in one of the student nights for 10p.
10p?
Yeah.
Really?
10p, yeah.
So what's going on for students now? Because this is mad, isn't it? Like, this comes back to, like, what's the point of this show? We are effectively, we are middle-aged men now, aren't we? And that's mad that you said something to me the other week and I was like, how old are you? Fucking hell. Like, are you 46 now?
46, yeah.
So you're closer to 50 than you are 40.
I love me slippers. I've got a big furry blanket that I put over myself when I'm watching the telly. I've got an electric blanket. I'm fucking embracing it.
Well,
I might get one of them massive slippers that you can put both feet in.
Oh, I fucking love that. I love shit like that. I keep coming up with these ideas of like, do you know when you see babies getting like pushed around and stuff?
Yeah.
I keep coming up with thinking, why doesn't someone make that like adult size? Do you know what I mean?
Well, you just get one of them little cars, don't you? And mooch round in them.
What cars?
You know, them little cars that go slow and you sit in them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? You look sound them.
Yeah. Fucking hell, we're aging quickly here, aren't we? Like the stuff the pensioners get on, them ones. Yeah.
You can win them, can't you? Or the likes of them. They sometimes give them away as a prize at Bongo's Bingo. Which always makes me laugh about
we'd be looking for sponsors, won't we?
Imagine coming down the Dock Road on that, having won it. Like,
I'd love
stop
that.
by the business.
You could do that when we're doing challenges. I mean, you could have a little race on one of them.
Yeah, someone make that happen if you listen. And listen to, you know, any random stuff that we say, or if you want to send us stuff, people used to send us stuff, send us tea, send us food, send us, you know, a wheelchair and we'll have a go with it. Whatever you want, send them to us. We'll find some way of making that happen. Maybe we should get a PO box or something. We'll talk about that off air.
But look, this is the thing about the price thing.
Still have 7 minutes of the media challenge.
See, I can't see that. Oh, yeah, I can. The price thing, we haven't talked about this much, I don't think, so we can talk about it on air now, which will be more interesting. Definitely since lockdown, because during lockdown, I was one of the people, there was that decision for loads of people, like, because I was single and living by myself. So when the first lockdown happened, which is like 3 years ago now, isn't it? I had to make a decision, did I live by myself or did I like move in with my mum and dad or something like that? And I was like, I'd rather be by myself, I think. But what that meant was I spent like months on end just sitting in a city centre 1-bed flat by myself. And I remember reading stuff at the time about, people started putting like dead creative stuff online and like dead like flamboyant videos and stuff. And I did, at one point I was sending you videos, wasn't I? And there was a couple you were like, no, don't put that out. And I was
Wigs on and all kinds.
Wigs and like gags and that.
Yeah.
And I did put...
That's like the lost album, isn't it?
Yeah, but I did put something out. I was trying to find that one I sent you the other week. But I think like I just started going down rabbit holes then and I've never come out of them because I really enjoyed them. And I've got this thing now where I always say to people, when people talk about conspiracy theories, if you've got 1,000 people who are conspiracy theorists, people would say the conspiracy theorists, and 1,000 people that you would say are normal people, and you said to me, you can go into one of those two rooms to chat to people, I'll go in the conspiracy theory room every time. It's well more fun. There's like, I already know what normal people think about stuff. I already know what the BBC says about stuff. I already know the bullshit we get in the papers. But the conspiracy theory stuff's brilliant. And this all ties into it. Like when you start going down that rabbit hole, because you're like, it's shit. It makes way more sense that there is a gang of like elite knobheads who are controlling everything. And they've got to the point now where they've just got away with so much, they just take the piss.
Well, yeah, it does feel like we're having the piss taken out.
That makes more sense than anything else.
Matt Le Tissier wants us to jib cash, doesn't he? And jib cards and use cash.
Oh, and only Le Tissier's in this world.
And only shop at the corner shop and don't go to the big businesses.
Break if
the bastards are lying to us, then there's something to be said for it, isn't there? The other little mad one, which I just want to touch on because we've got a bigger thing that we need to do in our remaining 5 minutes, is just that there was a piece in the Mirror also saying prisoners are buying food and cleaning products on the inside and donating them to food banks. Now, how fucking mad is that? And there are now, I mean, you keep hearing the fact. I checked all the fact-checking sites yesterday to see if this is true. It is true. There are more food banks now in the country than there are McDonald's, and there are about 1,500 McDonald's. There are about 2,500 food banks now.
Without getting too serious on the first show, because we said we wouldn't. I thought the maddest bit when it was like, you're taking the piss now, was when, I think it was at Christmas, when MPs, like people in the government who were in control of this, were like taking boxes of chocolates to food banks and like to nurses and stuff like that with a big smile on their face, like
saying it's a great thing.
Aren't I good? And you're like, no, mate. Yeah. You're meant to be making sure we don't have to have food banks in a first world country. This is crazy. Why are you pretending like this is all right?
The cost of living crisis is your fault. You fucking dickheads.
But that's my favourite thing. Like, they talk about it like, and what can you do? And you're like, I tell you what you could do. And I tweeted Robbo, or messaged Robbo before this saying, oh, fucking, what do we get? Because we thought, we'll keep it light on the first show, but then we're talking about this now anyway. But like, it's like the gas prices, isn't it? And then they go, there's nothing we can do about it. And the next day they go, by the way, Shell made £32 billion profit this year. And you're like, sound?
Do you want to tax them on that at all? Instead of us?
How about we just stop them doing that?
Yeah. Want to just do, we're running out of time. I thought this might happen. Look, Brookie's come back. The reruns have come back. They're on STV.
We got to get Brookie into this 15 minutes.
This is in this section.
We haven't got time in this section for that.
So Jimmy Corkle legend,
we could do a whole
Dean
15.
Sullivan reckons Brookside reruns could lead to a full return as well. So we prepped for this show and we watched. They're on STV. You just download it on your app thing on your telly and all that. And there's about 10 up, I think, now. And they're like sort of drip feeding like 5 a week. The mad thing that I straight away got onto is that it starts in 1982, Brookside. There's 2,915 episodes.
Is there? Yeah. That's going to keep me busy for a while then, isn't it?
So so a couple of revelations though, quickly.
Yeah.
You'd never watched that, had you?
No, I've never watched
Revelation
it.
1.
Will everybody watching and listening know what Brookside is?
Well, maybe they should get on it. And Revelation 2 for me as well was that you've lived in the same house as Jimmy Corkle at one point.
That's mad.
So you've shat on the same bog as Jimmy.
So this is mad, isn't it? So like for anyone who doesn't know, Brookside was a soap opera set in Liverpool. So even my girlfriend, I was telling her today, she's from the Wirral, and she was like, I can't believe you didn't watch it. I thought all Scousers watched it.
2,915 episodes, you never watched one?
I think I've seen a couple, but like going back and watching the first one was just brilliant, wasn't it? But like, let me do the Jimmy Corkle thing first, because it's one of our other mates, and he's got the house and I've lived there. And it is a mad thought, that, isn't it? Because it's all the same. Like the house, isn't it? You can tell it's one of those houses that it's all the same stuff that was in when it was built. It was a new build 30 years ago or whatever.
So
and it's the same.
Yeah, so he's definitely touched the same
stuff.
Yeah.
So I've defo been on the same bog as him. I'm in the same bath as him naked.
There you go. What a thought.
That's a nice thought, isn't it?
I mean, it's 1982, the first episode of Brookie, and you can of course go and watch this on STV. What got me is that, just sort of the things like from society that you were doing then and you took for granted and that you don't. So it starts off with the milkman coming. Well, no one's really got a milkman now, have they?
Yeah.
And then the teas maid is going off.
But I was thinking that back then.
I had the teas maid. It was amazing.
They'd have put that at the beginning, wouldn't they? Gone, oh God,
it's like having an iPad or something.
Yeah, like the height of technology.
Yeah.
What
got
does it do?
Maid.
Well, when you go to bed, you set the thing and it makes your tea ready for you when you wake up.
Yeah, I mean, they're actually a bit shit. But also it's worth watching for a generation as well, like who hasn't seen it. Because there's a generation, isn't there, who knows Ricky Tomlinson as Jim from the Royal Family and who knows Sheila as Barbara, from the Royal Family. So the couple in the Royal Family are the couple that you've first ever meet on Brookside, Ricky Tomo. So that's good. And that's just mad, the clobber they're wearing. You're expecting them to go, bloody hell, Barb, or something at any point. But
I've been watching the Royal Family recently as well again, because I love it. So that's funny. But also, I think one of the nicest things about it does show you how different the world was back then. Like it even says at the start, I sent you, like when you go to watch it, it says at the start, like, there's a warning because it says this was filmed in 1982. So the language and things they say might offend. And I said, we might have to put that warning on our show as well.
Yeah.
But I want to talk more about this at some point. Because
I think we should, let's keep watching it.
Yeah.
I think we keep watching it.
The big thing about it for me was, it was a sign of how different it was. Like bearing in mind, it was the first show of it was the first episode for a brand new show. If they tried to launch a show like that now, that's not happened. It was just dead slow pace, and even the end, we laughed our head off because the way, like, if they end any show now, they end on a cliffhanger. So like, you want to watch the next episode. Not
It's just a
at the
fella
end.
fuming because he didn't have a bog.
Yeah. And, like, they left it with Barry going, I'll go and see if I can get you a bog from the Swan.
From the Swan?
You're like,
I know, yeah.
no sound. That was it. And you're like, we're going, wow, did he get the bog? Did he get the bog?
What happens at the shitter? Tune in for the next episode. Okay, we are now on the sporting challenge, so let's start that. So as we're walking in today, we've got breaking news, which is that Man City, there's 100 offences or allegations of offences that have suddenly cropped up from the Premier League. Now, we were going to talk about potentially the football regulator thing. A lot of the sort of tweets that we've had in and the messages are along the lines of just sort of like being a little bit pissed off with footy, where footy's gone, all this kind of thing. What it says to me, this thing with Man City is that there are now a majority in the Premier League who are pissed off with it as well. So, like when you see, Klopp constantly asked about, what Man City are doing, or other managers constantly asked about it, they all seem to pull like a bit of a face, don't they? And then not really get into it. This is like, boom, this is what we're pissed off about. And it's like, the Premier League, if you remember, is just a group of clubs. Like we say the Premier League as though there's like some man in a suit in a room. It's the clubs. They are the Premier League. We saw that in sort of like COVID and stuff like that, where they were voting for things and stuff like that. So they've come together, and this is why Pep's been moaning as well, saying things like other clubs don't want us to do X, Y, and Z. And you thought, oh, what's he on about? This is what he was on about.
This was behind the scenes. That's what it was.
Yeah.
He knew it was coming.
And maybe that's why he started to make mad decisions. Selling boss players and relying on kids and not playing Kev De Bruyne and stuff like that.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we were saying just before we started, but for me, it's just these are the bits where I think as well, there's a bit of like, you feel like they're taking the piss, like the world's taking the piss. Because if you asked any footy fan, like, is there something dodgy going on at Man City all these years? Everyone would say, of course there is. Yeah. Like I saw Jamie Carragher tweeted just before we came in. Jamie Carragher retweeted the breaking news and said something like, nah, this can't be right. Man City have got bigger revenue than Barcelona, Real Madrid, Man United, Liverpool and Bayern Munich. And you're like, exactly. We've all known right from the start that they don't even sell out their own stadium for Champions League games. So we all knew it was bullshit. We all knew they were cheating. We all knew they were getting around the rules. So for it to come out now like it's some like revelation, I'm just a bit like, oh, fuck off.
I know. But what's mad about it as well, so I like I say, I literally broke as we were walking in and I was listening to it on the radio, and it was saying about like possible sanctions and there's a range, there's a suite of things that they could possibly do. One being though is like chuck them out the league.
Lashed out the league, yeah.
Like,
but did it, because I haven't had time to read this properly, did they mean lashed out the league completely?
Yeah.
Like you don't exist anymore?
Like presumably that you get relegated, yeah. And then there's
so they mean relegate, yeah, not just like...
Well, there's points deductions and obviously there's the idea of fines, but straight away obviously people are saying, well, fines mean absolutely nothing to Manchester City. And obviously they've got like an absolute army of lawyers that all come out the cracks like they did last time when it was over a potential Champions League ban, wasn't it, last time? So... But it's just dead interesting. The timing of it's interesting as well, I think, because we were going to talk about a football regulator. Some of the stuff from the white paper about regulation of football's leaked out in the last week or so. And an announcement's imminent. Those that would know are sort of saying the only thing that's delaying it is the government want to put it out at a time that's best for them to get good PR from, of course. So this could be seen as like as football sort of saying, we don't need regulation because look, we're going for the bad boys ourselves. We're doing it ourselves.
Yeah, do you know what though? Because I've not time to think about all this properly. That's interesting, isn't it? Because that happens a lot. Think about over the years. I remember after the last crash in the UK, economic crash, the banks were all like, yeah, Sam, we'll just regulate ourselves. And that's another one where you're like, are you messing? And the government just goes, yes, sound. You just do us a favour, go back through all your own records and you tell us where you've been naughty and then we'll sort that out and tell us how many... And as you're listening to it as a normal person, you're like, are you mad?
I know.
That's like going to your kids, right? I know there's been some naughtiness going on here. Can you do a review of yourselves?
Yeah.
Let us know what you think has gone wrong and you tell us what you think the punishment should be. And they'd be like, yeah, sound, we'll do that. Don't worry about it. So if that is what it is, which I could well imagine it being, it's just more mess, isn't it?
It's
Because you think, who else is, when you say the clubs, you think, who's doing that then?
It's
like
a box
Chelsea,
of frogs, isn't it? It's like they've opened a box of frogs. Like, what do you do now? So, like, straight away, like, I'm looking at conversations as we're walking in and people are saying, well, what about all these tight title races in the past when City ended up with the crown? Like, if they were cheating, which essentially is what these allegations are, then do we expunge those titles and award them to someone else and things like that? And then even like if you took a load of points off this season, well, you're essentially handing the league to Arsenal. Then fucking hell, that's not fair.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? What about all the clubs that could have been handled a title in the past? So
that's why
how the fuck do you deal with it?
But there's never a good solution to this by doing it in retrospect, is there? Do you mean we've seen this in Italy where they're just suddenly like, oh yeah, Juventus cheated 10 years ago, so we've taken 2 titles off them and we've given them to whoever finished second then.
Yeah, where's the let off for that?
And you're like, sound.
Yeah.
Like,
I'll just go and have a £7 pint to celebrate because we won the league 5 years ago. Well, fucking sound.
Well, maybe we should start a campaign here for any clubs that need to have a celebration from years ago. We should bring back prices from back then.
Yeah.
Say to the government, look, as part of the regulations, the pints should be the same price as when they would have won it.
Orange juice should be as well.
You should get 2 for 1 on your orange juice. Yeah. Make a list, Robbo.
Okay, well, we were going to talk in general about the sort of the madness really of footy, but we've got a few things that I think we can just get stuck into here from people who've sent things in. Because I said before we wanted to be interactive, so let's be interactive from show 1. Now, Eddie O'Rourke talked about a relationship between mental health and sports results. There's obviously like a couple of ways to go with that. I think me and you have been through like a bit of a journey with footy, haven't we, in fairly recent years? Like, and like I'm now at a place where I've got to be like, I still enjoy going to match, and I'm still interested in it all, and like, you know, I'm starting to sort of like get my vibe back about it as well, but in a different way now, though. And so like the lows aren't affecting me as much now. Like I feel like I've put some armour on now, and I'm like, it's just footy though, innit? And I kind of think, is that a thing that happens at this age? You know, like, do you get to an age where you're like, I put all this into footy, all this time, made all these sacrifices, probably should have been at that, and probably should have went to that, probably shouldn't have spent all that money, if I'm being honest. And like, you know, you just start thinking about your relationship with it a bit more. Yeah,
well, it's a weird one for me, because for people who already know me from other things, they'll know this, but anyone who doesn't, like I've done a lot, as you and I, we've talked about a lot over the past few years. Like I've done a lot of my own therapy, my own coaching on my own life, to completely change my life over the past 5 years, and now do that with other people. And I often like end up getting myself into a place where I think things that have changed in my life are because of that. And it's funny how often I'll be looking at something else, or I'll be chatting to someone else and think, oh no, this is not actually because of that. Or it might be partly because of that, but it's actually a time of life thing as well. Like all people go through this at this stage, you know what I mean? Or not all, but like lots of people end up reflecting on stuff. And I'm very much in that place. Like, you know, I've just given up bevying, as I said before, but also I've stopped going the game because just things like I don't enjoy. And it's stuff like this when I say out loud. I'm quite happy saying out loud as a 42-year-old man. But imagine if I'd said this when I was 25, like, I don't like sitting outside in the cold. like if you said to me one day, mate, do you want to come and see? Think about it, this is what I love about footy. If you went to me, right, come and see a movie this weekend with me. And I went to you, what's it about? And you went, I can give you the general theme, but I can't tell you like, you know, exactly what it's about. And I say, is it any good? And you say, I don't know. Like,
could be.
It could be, but it
might be shit.
It's often shit.
Yeah.
And we're going to be sitting outside.
Yeah.
And you'll be freezing. And
you're going to pay a fortune and you can't have a pint.
And it'll take you ages to get there. You can't drink a pint while, and this is when I was drinking, this would have been appealing to me. You can't drink a pint while you're watching the movie. And people are
going to treat you like shit as well.
Yeah.
Busies are going to make out you're a criminal just because you're there.
Oh yeah. All of these things on the periphery. I'd have been like, and how much is the ticket to see this movie? If you went 50 quid, I'd be like, no thanks, mate.
I know.
I'd say to you, can I watch the same movie at home on my couch and not have to deal with any of that stuff? Yeah, I'd be like, I'll do
it's
that.
A thing.
And that's what I do now. It's nice. I enjoy.
It's a thing. I bumped into a lad that I used to knock around with years ago. And we all drank in the same pub. And there was an absolute army of us at one point. And then, you know, slowly as life's taken people to different places, you know, that breaks down. I think that's a fairly standard thing with age as well. Anyway, bumped into this lad I used to bevy with, and he's a big blue, like, And I said, do you still go to Goodison? And he was like, nah, Premier League's bollocks. He said, I can't be arsed with it. He said, it's too much money. And he said, if I want to take my kids as well, it's an absolute joke. And he said, no, I've got a season ticket at Marine now. And I said, all right, I might come down and see you with some of the lads. And he was like, yeah, get yourself down. He said, it's sound. He said, it's been done up, because they had that cup run, didn't they, where they played Spurs and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So he said, the bar's being done up. You can have a pint. It's affordable. He said, the kids have got into it now as well. They love it. They look forward to going and all that. And he said, there's a decent crowd there. And he said, it makes the Saturday. And I'm like, sounds quite good, that.
Yeah.
Sounds quite good. Yeah. I mean, I've got some persuading to do to get Cara to go to that. As in my son, so he wants to go to watch Premier League. He doesn't want to go watch Premier League.
So this is my thing, and we've talked about this to be controversial on the first show. I've got this thing about women's footy and lower division footy. I'm not interested. And I don't, everyone banging on at me that I have to go and watch it because it's equality.
You don't have to.
It's got nothing. I don't not like women's footy because of the gender of the people playing. I don't like watching Liverpool when they're shit. I don't like watching teams lower down the Premier League. This shows how old I am. I forget who's in the Premier League. Every time I go to name a shit team in the Premier League, I go to say Burnley. They're not in the Premier League anymore. But who's down the bottom now? Notts Forest. I won't watch Notts Forest. Why? Because they're shit. I'm not interested in watching. The thing that appeals to me about entertainment is people doing things I can't do. And I went to see, my nephew plays in Wigan's Academy, and we went as a family to go and watch the first team a couple of years ago. And we watched Wigan versus Preston. And I remember, I'm physically goosed. I can't move, my back's sore. I can't run properly. And I turned to my brother-in-law, who's 46, 47. And halfway through the game, I went to him, I think me and you could play in this game. And he went, I agree with you, mate. I was looking at the left back thinking, I used to be a good fullback.
See, I like loads of the community stuff, me, though.
But the community, that's a different thing for me. Watching the actual game.
Yeah, I know, but I used to go and watch Sandmere. I used to go and watch Knowsley United, Prescott Cables, Marine. And I remember, being desperate for footy to come back one season, and the league, as in the football league, started before the Premier League, and so I persuaded my best mate to go to Plenton Park with me, because I was desperate for a little football fix, you know what I mean? So we go all the way over there. It's fucking freezing, all the rest of it. Get in the stand. I think they played Oldham, and it was 0-0. And within about 10 minutes, he was like, "This is shit." And I was like, oh, come on. I was like, aren't you enjoying the sights and sounds, a different ground, the fact that we had to make a little bit of a journey to get over? And he was like, no, it's shit. He was like, I reckon I'm better than that centre midfielder there and all this. And I was like, oh, fuck off. But you know what I mean? I get it. I always think this about footy, people take really high ground over loads of aspects of it. And it's but we all do it in different ways. Yeah. Because some people love the stuff I've just talked about. Some people love the tactics. Some people have been a decent player themselves, and so look at the match almost in that way. Some people get absolutely twatted, don't remember anything about it, and have to read the report the next day to see what happened. Do you know what I mean? So there's all these different ways of consuming the same thing, and yet everyone's can get on high horses about it and say, you should be doing this way. Well, you should be doing that.
In fairness, we've been guilty of that in the past, haven't we?
The whole thing makes you a hypocrite at some point.
Oh, well, that's life, innit? We're all. I've come to this lovely point in my life where you just accept you're a hypocrite and life's better, because we are all hypocrites at some point. But it ties into loads of stuff. It even ties back into Brookie. Something I loved about that first episode of Brookie was, which they don't do in the other big soaps. It was like real life. They were talking about going to the match. You're going to go to the match later, Dad? Are you going? But the other thing that was dead interesting was they were just deciding on the day whether they were going.
I know, because you could pay in.
You could just turn up on the day and go, and it was a couple of quid, and kids could go. And that's where it's the big shift is for me. And even as you're talking about taking kids and stuff, I actually think, I was talking to family about women's footy yesterday, and I went, give it 20 years and women's footy will be huge and good for them. And it's because... And this is probably what you need to do with little kids if you want to get them into proper footy and not the Premier League thing that it is now, the show, it's like the cinema or the theatre, is you get them in early to the other stuff that's more accessible.
I've tried, that didn't work.
Didn't it?
They won't go back.
But did they go? But did they, had they
took
already
Bracken
seen
the women's footy. I took Gareth non-league.
But they've already seen. They're too old, I think, because they've already been indoctrinated.
They went when they were kids.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. It didn't work, honestly. It didn't work. They were like, no, we've been. Don't want to go back.
But why was that? That's interesting then. Because do you reckon it's because they've been exposed to Premier League stuff on telly and that?
I think genuinely it was some of the stuff that you just talked about. So the way like, oh. Okay. So the way like sometimes like how you act when you're a kid and how you act when you're dead old, like merge as one.
Yeah.
They were like, it was cold.
Yeah.
Can't be asked standing there for 90 minutes. And I think there's a thing about like just concentrating on something for a long time, which is like a whole separate debate about, phones, computers and everything else. No one's got an attention span anymore.
Yeah.
No one. I spoke to a young lad trying to make it in journalism the other day, and he said, what's your one like massive piece of advice? And I said, read all the time, read loads of books. It improves how you speak, it improves how you write, without you even knowing it. And he was like,
can't be asked.
Whole book.
Really? Was he?
Yeah, honestly, he was just like, I don't really do books, mate.
That's mad,
and I was like, you've got to read books. You've got to read books.
And
get it into your life.
Did you want to be a journalist?
Yeah.
That's mental.
But that's like, it's phones and all that, isn't it? It's the constant distractions of all the proper sound like our fellas now. Okay, next section. Go. Yeah. Next section is, so loads of people, on sections, just dead quickly, by the way, people have been emailing us, people have been filling out the form on the website, and people have been tweeting us. It's been suggested already in week 1 that we should have shithouse, bellend, and see where coming cunt of the week have all been suggested to us as sections in this show. Like what people are very angry, aren't they? The crunching challenge is next though. Now, so loads of people, so this started, lots of people have mentioned crisps to me. Like I had a fella who stopped me in the supermarket. I had my earphones in and everything. And he goes, what are you doing now? You left it on field up. Like, what are you doing now? And I said, been doing a bit of teaching and still doing some writing and gone on the odd thing and all that. He said, what about the rest of the time? You're just sitting around talking about crisps, yeah? And I was like, yeah, sometime. And he went, you should do a podcast about crisps. I'd listen to that, be boss that. So the crunching challenge. So the crunching challenge is going to be each week, me and Co, without speaking to each other beforehand, are going to turn up. We're going to do crisps, aren't we? I think for a good while. We're going to turn up with a bag of crisps each. And then we want you, the audience, to decide who's brought the best crisps, basically. We'll put it to the vote on Twitter. And then, someone will win. And then over time, I don't know, there'll be some kind of like crisp champion. And then we'll move on to biscuits or something like that.
Do you know what's funny about this? Like, as I was driving over today, I was thinking, I haven't put that much thought into this other than the bag I was going to bring. I can imagine over a couple of weeks getting dead competitive about this. Because if you beat me in the first
strategy,
vote,
isn't it?
I'll be like, right, I need to... This used to happen to me all the time on other shows where I'd be like, I'm not putting enough thought into this and I want to win.
Yeah, I mean, there's a strategy, isn't there? Like, do you go with an absolute belter on day one? Or do you go like, mid-league and think, oh, I'll see if that win, that might win? No, but
even then, it's like, what I've seen in the past on things like this is playing the crowd. So like people aren't going for what they actually think. They're going for what they know the crowd will like. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if you pick a packet that the crowd loves, they'll vote for them.
People, I was thinking about this, like, are we gonna taste the other person's crisp? We should do something, to give a bit of brief feedback. But people say, I've said in the past, don't like listening to someone eat on a microphone. So maybe we have to sort of do slightly eat off mic. Well, go on. What have you got? Well,
no, you go, because you've seen mine already, haven't you? Go on. I want to see what you've got.
So talking about the strategy of it, I've gone with what I consider to be absolutely fucking top tier.
Okay.
And I will be very...
Are these your favourite crisps?
Pretty much. Yeah. And I'll be very disappointed if I'm not winning week 1 here. I've gone hard week 1.
Go on.
So I've gone beef Space Raiders.
Oh, okay.
Now they are fucking tremendous. And I've got the big pound bag because the little bag, I couldn't get the little bag anywhere. And I think that speaks for itself, doesn't it?
Yeah.
People love beef Space Raiders.
Oh, that ties into what we've been talking about before though as well. Because didn't you used to just get bags of them for like 15p?
I know, and a quid. But also everything's gone bigger though, hasn't it? It's like we're going like, American society where you can't, like you get your snack deal from Tesco or whatever, and all the crisps are grab bags.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, where's the normal ones?
Yeah.
I don't want a grab bag. I just want some to throw on my butty and eat it.
Yeah.
And then I'm done. I don't want a grab. There's only me. A grab bag's like, you're meant to be sharing it. Go on, what's your crisp?
Well, aren't you going to tell me why they should win?
These are just tremendous, I think. I love that, they are actual aliens and all that. And like, you even get some...
actual aliens?
Yeah, you get some...
Like Jamie Redknapp on Sky now, they're literally...
Yeah, the Space Raider stats on the back. So, giant Gruber, lives in forests and caves, favourite snack, AstroTurf.
AstroTurf?
Apparently.
Your crisps eat AstroTurf?
Bad, but it's all about the taste though, innit? Hang on, off here. Oh, yes. Get on them, lad.
In fairness, do you know what the funny thing about these competitions is? Like, I'd probably come round to picking Space Raiders at some point. So it's one of them, isn't it?
And
like,
they're ruled out now, aren't they?
But do I trash your selection to try and win mine? Do you know what I mean? Or do we go for that?
No,
thing?
I think we've got to be honest. I think if the other person's come up with a nice crisp, you have to say it's a nice crisp.
Yeah.
And then we leave it open to the audience. I mean, what the audience could do is go and buy both of these bags and do their own taste test, or do it with the family. And you know what I mean? Send us the results. Like,
I'm trying to time eating me crisp now for people on the podcast.
Go on.
Do you know what I like about these, actually? They melt in your mouth.
We need to get pictures of them as well, so that I've got a picture ready to what's the name? So, live social media. There's your Space Raiders. What have you gone for?
Right, so I've gone left field.
He's gone grab bag as well.
Right, but this is the thing, and we're blaming the world for us all going dead fat. Same thing, grab bag, quid. But I've gone for knickknacks.
Oof.
Rib and saucy. So what's your immediate reaction to that? My
knickknack, well, I mean, crisp game, I think. So I think on the Space Raiders, some people will be saying, why didn't you go pickled onion? But to quote a Chewy advert, what about your onion breath? Like, I've got to like operate for the rest of today, and I don't want like onion breath if I'm in close proximity to people. They're gonna stink.
But this is interesting because
and they stick to your fingers.
But your beef Space Raiders stink as well.
No,
and they do. I can smell them from here.
Yeah, but it's a sound stink.
But I was yeah. But this is funny. As I was thinking about what's great about these, the stink was like an upside, not a downside.
You're into the stink.
Yeah, I love the stink.
Aren't they ones though where I haven't even tasted one yet, but aren't knickknacks a type of crisp where you eat them and as you're going through, you end up with like, orange fingers and like bits stuck all over you.
But this is the beauty of them, right? And I went for these because I was playing the player, right? I thought you were going to go for something like down the line, like to play the masses. Do you know what I mean? Like just a normal crisp
like a
type crisp.
Or something?
Yeah. And the thing about these, right? I think knickknacks are they're like a modern version of Space Raiders. I'm with you completely on your choice, right? Your type of selection, do the corn starch type shite. So normal crisps, like there's still an element of they're just potatoes, aren't they? They're a bit like, there's an element of them being healthy. I think if you're eating a bag of crisps, you want them to be shite. You want it to be processed rubbish. And one of the things about knickknacks, which is brilliant, is the flavour. My thing about eating a bag of crisps, right, is when you get to the end, and this goes back to when I was a kid, you could there are photos of me when I was a kid just covered in food stuff. Because I've always just loved proper enjoying my food. Do you know what I mean? Like, so if I'm eating a Kit Kat, I'll eat all the chocolate around the outside first. And there's a picture of me covered in chocolate. When I'm eating crisps, I want them to be full of that flavour. So at the end, what you're saying about it's all on your fingers, because then you get extra enjoyment of licking it all off your fingers when you're finished.
But if you're on public transport or
but I don't care about that anymore. That sort of stuff used to bother me when I was a younger man and I cared what people thought of me. Now I'm just, if someone sees me on public transport or I'm out and about and I'm enjoying me crisps and they say to me,
and you're sucking your fingers.
And I'm sucking my fingers as a 42-year-old man. And they go to me, you shouldn't be doing that.
That man is scaring me.
I'll say, I'm enjoying my life. Like this is how you enjoy your life.
Come on, crack them then.
And do you know what? I like these that much. I had a bag this morning.
Did you?
I bought two so I could eat one on the way over.
Was that to check whether you had made a good choice?
No, because I knew there's something else I'll put in for this, right? As to why I should win. And this doesn't even appeal to me anymore because I don't drink, but they're brilliant for a hangover. Do you know when you've got that feeling after a night out when you're not sure what to eat because nothing really hits the spot, and some things you don't want to put in your mouth because it doesn't taste nice. These are perfect for that.
Go on.
I've had a full bag this morning. I could probably still get bits of knick-knack. Something else. Yeah, they are. I said I haven't prepared. I've got all kinds. I'm going back to my legal days here with a full case. The good thing about knickknacks is they get stuck in your teeth as well. So you get to like the value for money because you get to eat them for longer.
Get a little snack later on when you clean your teeth.
You'll just be like, oh yeah, there's a little one in the
back.
They are nice,
like they are tasty.
But I've got to say, like the rib and saucy, they're harder to find, which also appeals to me. Like you can get there's the orange bag, which is like the standard flavour. Yeah. They're not as nice as the rib and saucy, but you can get them in more places. I never understand this. Do you ever get that where your favourite thing no one else likes, so then all of a sudden they go out of circulation? And so maybe I'm actually doing a bit of an appeal here for people to start buying knickknacks, the rib and saucy ones, so that they don't go out of circulation.
Yeah, if someone could serve IPA in North Liverpool as well, I'd really like that.
Are we just going to use this show for like an appeal for stuff we like, basically?
Yeah, basically. I mean, also on the Crunch and Challenge section, so do let us know. We'll stick out a Twitter poll on who's got the best crisps in week one there, and we'll see how it goes. We might talk about like other little bits of food news maybe or something on this section, because this has really sort of piqued my interest, and I've already been going on about this to Kopi. So this is from the Mirror the other week. Pie champion has third win under his belt. A hungry warehouse worker scored a World Pie Eating Championships hat-trick by regaining the title he last won 9 years ago. Barry Rigby, 49, scoffed a meat and potato pastry in 35.4 seconds to take the crown a third time. Barry of Wigan also won in 2009 and 2014. 35.4 seconds seems like fucking ages. I'm sure I could eat a pie in that time.
Yeah, I know we've touched on this, but I'm glad we're speaking about it face to face now on our show. You've got to do this now.
I like a pie.
When you said that to me, I was like, what's your point?
Deal? How big's the pie?
But it's got to be a normal size pie, hasn't it? There's no way you can eat a pie in 35 seconds. That's not ages.
It is.
Unless you can, we did talk about this, unless you can do that thing where you can open your throat and just push it down. Like you've got to chew it and everything.
You know, that was about 5 seconds, you saying all that. I
wonder why you were looking at the clock. I was like, is it getting to the end of our 15 minutes?
Honestly, I could bail through one. I mean, like, look.
So you reckon, what's this fella's name? Barry of Wigan?
Barry Rigby, 49. Barry Rigby.
Is it a world record?
Apparently so, yeah. Well, hang on. No, he's won the World Pie Eating Championship with that time.
So he
beat 16 rivals to lift the Bradley Piggins trophy. Imagine having a trophy for eating pies.
If you think you could do that, I'm into this. I think if you can be the world champion at anything, you should do it. That's a new theory of mine.
Honestly, I'm really intrigued by it. If anyone knows more about it, I might look it up myself. But like, also, like, you know, I want to know about the rules. So like, if you get like a Boss pie from like Home Baked, which I do regularly, I love them from there, and they're big, there's loads of meat in them, you'd probably struggle for 30 seconds there. But if like it's a little shitty one from Iceland, sound.
But what size are you thinking? Because the Home Baked ones are
big fellas,
substantial.
Yeah,
I'm thinking of like the standard, like circle ones, like the Hollands ones.
Because I mean, Barry says here the trick is to take small bites, get small chunks in your mouth, and swallow them as quick as you can. He's not like deep throating the pie; he's just eating the pie normal. Like, that's what you do anyway.
But like, organizer Tony Callahan said it was a high quality chunder. That's the collective noun we use for elite pie eaters. So you're saying, but you're putting yourself in the elite category before you even had a go.
I mean, I'm not saying like, you know, I've whacked on a bit of weight, but I wouldn't say I'm with these boys like it. But I do like a pie. A pie's a good food stuff in my book. And I just think I could do it. I just do. What have we got left? We've got 2 minutes in this section.
I'd like to see you try.
There's loads of other stuff we were going to talk about. What are we going to do? Should we do it or not? Or should we just say, thanks very much, that's been the first show. Follow us on everything. Vote on the crisp thing. Give us your feedback. We want to know what you all thought, don't we? So, feedback, you know, do you like it? Do you like the ideas? Is there something we didn't do that you want us to do? We're very much open to this being whatever you want it to be. We want to appeal to you. We know that there's people out there who've seen both of us on stuff in the past and want certain things. That's why we did the crisps. We will be doing sport. We will be doing news. We're happy to talk about absolutely anything, basically, aren't we?
Yeah, we've already got a couple of other topics, haven't we? We're going to be something I want to talk about is, I really want to talk about, because this will be something we can get in from other people. You want to talk about your BT?
I really wanted to talk about BT.
Have we got time?
Fuming with BT. Well, we've only got 1 minute 27 left. Oh, do you know what? I've just thought when we talked about Brookside, we didn't get to say about what the Brookside late. So there was a Brookside late once upon a time. And basically, like, you know, they swore in it and stuff like that. Are you ready here, Jacob? So I remember this dead well, and me and my mates have talked about it loads, saying like, do you remember when like on that Brookside late that they did, someone like robbed a car, and there was like this old cantankerous fella, Harry Cross, brilliant character. Someone drove a nicked car across his lawn, and he come out the front door having witnessed that, and he went, "Fuck it hell." Which I absolutely love. I mean, I wonder whether that could be like a thing on the show or something. You know, like if we're surprised by something, play Harry Cross.
But it ties into what I was going to say. Actually, one of the things I want to talk about is like mad sayings in your family that don't make any sense, but like have just been around. I mean, there's loads in my family we'll talk about on future shows. But my favourite thing I think at the moment is old people swearing. Like I've told you, we'll share a few of them. There's the old Scouse woman who gets the card off the Queen.
Brilliant!
That?
She doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, I want to share stuff like that with the wider public. Do you read? And there's the one. Did I send you the letter, the thank you letter?
Don't think so. Okay. Oh, no,
we'll
that's
do that.
Absolutely
I'll do that
brilliant.
next week, right? We'll do that next week.
Time up. Okay. That has been the first episode of the Late Challenge. Let us know what you think. Give us your feedback. Send us a tweet. Send us an email. Stop us in the street. Do whatever you like. That's it. That's the first one. Hope you liked it.